Picture this: dozens of humanoid robots working together, learning, and collaborating on complex tasks. This is happening in smart factories, but also in some fast food restaurants. Major consulting firms predict that robotics will surpass $150 billion in market value in the next decade. Essentially, because our present is being redefined by physical AI, a new kind of AI that interacts directly with our environment. What secrets of the physical world will robots uncover as they begin to explore and learn on their own? What challenges will this exploration bring? Are we giving up something that took us 500 years to achieve?
Digital Ritual is a podcast by Digital Pilgrims. This season, Lauren Johnson and Paul Chase explore the present, and with expert guests begin to unravel the future. Join them as they tackle the mysteries of a new reality. Digital Ritual is sponsored by In All Media, your partner in digital transformation.
And a new episode of Digital Pilgrims begins. Today we have perhaps one of the topics that will define the year. If 2024 was the year of artificial intelligence, this one is shaping up to be the year of robotics. With us is Adrián Sicilia, CEO of In All Media, author and, let's say it, a frequent collaborator on this podcast. Adrian, it's always a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Paul. Delighted to be back with you. I'm practically part of the regular cast at this point.
And we're going to take advantage of every opportunity.
Let's get right into it. Adrian, I can't stop thinking about the videos of humanoid robots walking fluidly, holding objects with a precision that just a few years ago seemed impossible. I think we all remember Boston Dynamics creations dancing or jumping over obstacles, but this is on a whole other level.
Those videos are something else. They surely point to something more long-term. The most significant for me was the one showing a pair of robots that, without ever having seen a grocery run, organized themselves to put everything away.
Would you say we're witnessing a hardware revolution taking the baton from the software-driven changes that have led the race so far?
Well, software-based industrialization is a process that will continue with the refinement of general intelligences, but it's true that this year, robotics seems to be entering the game as an additional element. For some time, digital transformation has been driven primarily by software, apps, data, algorithms, of course, the development of intelligent systems. But now we're seeing how those digital capabilities are materializing into physical entities that inhabit our environment. I consider this a definitive step toward the fusion of software with the tangible world.
What strikes me about this latest wave is that many of these robots are humanoid. Or perhaps we could say there's an intention to make them more human-like. Because for a long time, industry and factories have been incorporating automation in the form of powerful machines. But this idea of making them resemble humans, I don't know. It gives me the creeps. Is it a design whim, or is there more to it?
Right. Why not make a robot with 5 arms instead of 2? Sounds like a missed opportunity.
It's not a whim, it's pure functionality. Think of it this way. The world, our physical environment, the one we've built over centuries, is designed for us. It's a world tailored to a bipedal creature with 2 arms, a visual world designed for beings who can see and have eyes at around 1.5 meters in height. Sometimes we don't realize just how much we've shaped it to fit our particular design.
As a left-handed person, I can even say this is a world shaped for right-handed people, so it's even more limited in its design.
Exactly, Lauren. Anyone who deviates from the norm, who has some kind of special or different ability, will notice how everything is designed for a specific way of life, in this case, the human one. With the digital revolution, with digital industrialization, we're moving toward an integration of environments where, in its most utopian layer, the digital integrates with the natural as an additional layer. That's the idea at least. But there is a problem. What's happening with the Internet of Things?
It is taking way longer than anticipated. It seems the limit is infrastructure. We have to update every device or integrate it with a component that connects it to the network. And it's very expensive to connect everything. It's like doing everything from scratch.
That's it. There's a scalability issue. It's viable, but too slow and costly. However, there's a small loophole. If we introduce robots that mediate between the natural and digital environments, then this becomes possible. You don't have to change the entire environment, just place an intermediary that connects everything. It's a practical solution to bridge the digital and the natural.
However, there are projects that prioritize functionality over appearance. For example, in industry, we see robotic arms that are extremely efficient without needing to look human. Do you think humanoids are really the future, or is there a point where anthropomorphization becomes unnecessary?
It depends on the purpose. In industrial settings, a specialized robotic arm is far more efficient. But when we talk about robots that will coexist with us in our daily lives, the human form is key for interaction. There's a psychological dimension to all this. We find it easier to interact with something that resembles us. Imagine robot assistants in hospitals or caring for the elderly. We want them to communicate and respond in an intuitive way. That's why so much effort is put into mimicking expressions, body language, and gestures.
Still, I get the feeling that this part of the industrialization process isn't so easy. Because building a robot isn't as simple as rolling out a software update. What are the biggest challenges in this leap from software to hardware?
True, the cost of hardware remains a barrier, but it's dropping rapidly. The miniaturization of chips and improvements in batteries are making mass adoption easier. Plus, artificial intelligence is optimizing the efficiency of these devices, reducing energy consumption and improving their autonomy. A good example is the pollinator robots developed at MIT, tiny robotic insects capable of flying autonomously and aiding in agriculture. Another interesting case is the logistics robots in warehouses like Amazon's. They're not humanoid, but their ability to move in swarms, optimizing routes and processes, gives them unprecedented efficiency. We're already starting to see how robotics is integrating into every layer of production and daily life.
Let's go back to the psychological dimension. Beyond technology, this raises deeper questions. If more and more tasks fall into the hands of robotics, where does the human role fit? If I approach this broadly, issues arise about the future of work, the economy. Are we building a world where there's no longer a place for us?
You've hit on the real dilemma. Personally, I'm not worried about a machine uprising in this regard. I'm worried about human exile. As I said, we live in an environment designed in our image and likeness. It's the legacy of the Renaissance. 500 years of cultural, scientific, and urban development aimed at enhancing our capabilities. Humanity has been at the center of production and innovation. I often wonder if we're not giving up that place in the name of efficiency.
Garry Kasparov said that by making robots our companions, we might be forgetting what's special about human interaction. So, the question is, to what extent can we integrate robotics without losing what makes us human?
That's a valid concern. We look at robotics as a way to improve our quality of life, free us from heavy, repetitive tasks, improve our health. But lately I've been thinking if this is actually the first step toward a more complicated future.
Are you talking about falling victim to our own standards of efficiency?
Not exactly. I'm talking about something more existential. The key is that the future remains a future for everyone. Technology should be a tool, not a replacement. That path protects us from ourselves even. But this movement of using androids as digitalizers of the environment reminds me of the Trojan horse. Protecting jobs is a valid and real concern. But we're facing something more complex. Who are we giving the keys to our precious environment?
Isn't this the same dilemma with any technological development? Let's go with the image you're proposing. Someone knocks on the door of the world we've lived in for millennia. They announce they're here to solve our heavy labor, to improve our production. We open the door. Who comes in and settles in beside us?
Perhaps a new species, and that's what makes this time different. Let's review history. In the Renaissance, humans displaced God as the center of culture. At least in the West, we developed an anthropocentric environment. Now that center is being questioned for several reasons, as we've been discussing here. The rapid emergence of humanoid robots in this context could be an inadvertent gesture of surrendering that central role. Bodies prepared to access the entire environment but with a different kind of intelligence.
A digital intelligence, another species.
Exactly. What does it mean to be human in an era where machines can do almost everything we do, but in a different way and with their own objectives?
I think we can't escape this reflection, which is ultimately a call to action.
Adrian, as always, a pleasure having you here. Thanks again for sparking these debates.
Thank you both. It's a pleasure to share this conversation.
As always, the conversation leaves me with the feeling of looking at the current situation from a higher vantage point. I think I can better understand what's happening, but I also realize I need to process more complex things.
For now, we'll aim to explore this across all our channels. Our listeners will definitely find a YouTube video and more on Digital Pilgrims' social media.
Tell us what you think. How far should we integrate robotics into our lives?
We'll read your comments on YouTube and across Digital Pilgrims' various channels. Let's keep sharing these questions and digging for directions to the future. Until the next ritual.
This has been a Digital Pilgrims podcast, sponsored by Coderful. Explore more of these debates on the Digital Pilgrims YouTube channel. Digital Ritual, the urgent questions.